Rachel had been married for 9 years. From the outside, her marriage looked fine. Nice house, 2 kids, date nights every few weeks, no big fights, no dramatic moments. Nothing you could point to and say, there, that is the problem. But she told me something that stopped me completely. She said, "I realized one evening that I was relieved when my husband said he had to work late. Not sad, not worried, relieved." That was the moment she knew something was very wrong. Not because they were fighting, not because someone had done something terrible, but because somewhere between the routines and the responsibilities and the quiet compromises, they had stopped being a marriage. They had become roommates who shared a last name.
Today, I want to talk about the signs. Not the obvious ones, not the dramatic ones, the quiet ones. The ones that show up slowly and look so normal that most couples miss them completely until it is too late. Here are 5 signs your marriage needs an emergency reset. And if you recognize even 2 of these, do not wait. Start today. Sign number 1, you have stopped being curious about each other. Think about when you first fell in love. You wanted to know everything. What he was thinking, what he dreamed about, what made him laugh when no one was watching. You asked questions. You listened. You were genuinely interested in the person sitting across from you. Now, think about the last real conversation you had with your husband. Not logistics, not the kid's schedule, not what needs to happen tomorrow. A real conversation where you learned something new about him, where you shared something real about yourself. If you cannot remember, that is the first sign. Curiosity is not just a feeling that comes and goes in marriage. It is a choice. And when couples stop making that choice, when they assume they already know everything about each other, the relationship begins to close, slowly, quietly, room by room. A woman named Jennifer told me she realized she had not asked her husband a genuine question in over a year. Not because she did not care, but because the days were so full and the routines so established that real conversation had been replaced by coordination. She started asking him one real question every evening. Not, "How was your day?" Something specific. Something that showed she was paying attention to who he actually was. Within 2 weeks, he said, "I feel like you actually see me lately." She always had. She had just stopped showing it. Sign 2. Physical affection has become functional or disappeared entirely. This is not about intimacy in the way people usually mean. This is about the small, daily language of touch that exists in a healthy marriage. The hand on the back passing through the kitchen. The knee touched during a conversation. The hug that lasts 3 seconds longer than it needs to. The reaching for each other that says, "I still choose you. I still want to be close to you." When that disappears, when touch becomes only functional, only routine, only obligatory, something essential in the marriage has gone quiet. A study from the University of North Carolina found that couples who maintain regular non-sexual physical affection report significantly higher levels of marital satisfaction and emotional connection. The body keeps score in marriage. And when the score runs low for too long, both partners feel it, even when neither says anything out loud. Think about the last time you touched your husband and meant it. Not a goodbye kiss that has become a habit. Not a hug that was over before it began. A moment of genuine physical closeness that said, I am here. I see you. I want to be near you. If you cannot remember that moment, this is your second sign. You are living parallel lives that occasionally intersect. Same house, same bed, same dinner table, but two completely separate worlds running alongside each other without really touching. He has his work, his stress, his phone, his space. You have yours. And somehow the years went by and the intersection points got fewer and fewer until you realized we share a life, but we do not share it together. This is one of the most common and most dangerous patterns in long marriages. Researchers call it parallel living. And unlike fighting, which at least means two people are still emotionally engaged with each other, parallel living is a slow fade, a quiet withdrawal from the shared life you once built. A couple named David and Michelle came to me after 14 years of marriage. They were not unhappy, exactly, but when I asked them to tell me the last thing they had done together, just for the joy of it, not for the kids, not for logistics, just for them, they looked at each other and could not answer. 14 years. And they could not name one recent moment that was just theirs. That was the emergency they had been living inside without realizing it.
Criticism has replaced communication. There's a difference between bringing up a concern in a marriage and chronically criticizing a person. One says, "This specific thing is bothering me, and I want us to work on it together." The other says, "You are the problem. You are always the problem." The researcher John Gottman spent decades studying couples and identified what he called the 4 horsemen of relationship collapse: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And of these 4, criticism is almost always the first one to appear. It starts small. A comment about how he loaded the dishwasher, an eye roll when he tells a story, a sigh when he makes a decision you would have made differently. Each one alone seems minor, but together, accumulated over months and years, they send a message that is devastating to a marriage. The message is, you are not enough. You never get it right. I am disappointed in who you are. And a man who receives that message long enough eventually stops trying. Not because he gave up on you, but because the trying started to feel like failing no matter what he did. If you notice that your conversations have shifted from connection to correction, this is your 4th sign, and it requires honest attention. Sign 5. You have stopped fighting for the marriage and started just accepting the distance. This is the most dangerous sign of all, because it looks like peace. No arguments, no tension, no dramatic moments. Just 2 people who have quietly decided that this is what marriage becomes. That the warmth that used to exist was just the beginning, and this polite coexistence is what long marriage actually looks like. It is not. A marriage without conflict is
not necessarily a healthy marriage. Sometimes the absence of conflict means both people have simply stopped caring enough to fight for what they want. They have accepted the distance because challenging it feels too hard, too vulnerable, too risky. And the saddest thing I have seen in years of conversations about marriage is not couples who fought too much. It is couples who stopped fighting for each other at all. If you recognized yourself in any of these 5 signs, do not hear this as a verdict. Hear it as an invitation. The fact that you are here means something in you still cares, still wants more, still believes this marriage is worth fighting for. Now, what to do? An emergency reset does not mean a vacation. It does not mean a dramatic conversation that fixes everything in one evening. It means making a decision today to do things differently, starting with one thing. Ask him a real question tonight. Not, how was your day? Something that shows you have been paying attention to who he actually is. Touch him like you mean it tomorrow morning. Not a routine goodbye. A moment that says, I still choose you. Tell him one specific thing you admire about him this week. Not a generic compliment. Something real and observed. Something that says, I see you. I am still looking. These are not magic solutions. They are seeds. And every healthy marriage that was restored not through one grand gesture, but through small, intentional seeds, planted daily, until something started to grow again. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 signs felt most familiar to you? You do not have to share details, just the number. Just 1 or 2 or 3. Because I want to know. And I want you to know that you are not alone. In recognizing this, thousands of women reading this comment section are sitting with the same quiet realization you are sitting with right now. And if this video reached something in you, share it with one woman who needs to hear it today. She may not have the words for what she is feeling, but she will recognize herself in what you share. I will see you in the next one.